Hello and welcome to this new video. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the channel and also talk about my newfound love for the SVG file format. So let's just start, no need intros. Remember, last week I've made a video talking about that script that I've made using awk that generates my web page. Well, I need to do the same thing for my schematics, right? Because I've made those fancy schematics for the ext file system. Well, I want the same thing to work for those schematics. I don't want to lose them, right? Now, there was a few issues with the already existing schematics. Number one, it was crazy slow. The reason was that when they were actually generated at runtime. They were generated while you were running the web page, which meant that there was kind of an heavy engine that powered it all, and that heavy engine was in JavaScript, and it was just something that was made for small scale things, right? It wasn't made for my big schematics with a bunch of text in it. And it really showed, because when you would zoom into them, they would lag and they would sometimes crash and they would a lot of time not generate fully. So that was really not fun, especially knowing that I've shoved way too much time into those schematics, and I want to go a little bit more into that side of the channel, right? I would like to go ahead and make a series of video on XFS and how XFS actually works, because, well, file system videos are really, really fun to make, and they're really, really informative, and the schematics are the best part of those videos. So I want them to work. So I've went to work into trying to make it work without that JavaScript generator, but actually making it work using the SVG file format. Now, SVGs are fancy because they're not like other image file format. Normally, you will have a bunch of pixels, you read from those pixels, throw them on screen, problem solve. SVGs don't work that way. The way that they work is that you say what you actually want to generate, what you want to render on the screen. So you can say, I want text there, I want a square there with rounded corner, and there I would want just a path, just a line. And through all of those commands, we can generate an actual, image. So using that, and using also JQ, JQ is just a parser for JSON, because by default, Obsidian uses JSON in order to store all of the values inside of your schematics, inside of your canvas. So using JQ and translating it to an SVG, we can have those fancy schematics, but in an image file format. So it's really interesting because we can do a bunch of fancy things now that we have it inside of an SVG, right? Because before, if I wanted to render it as an image, it would be a PNG. And PNGs they're great, they're good file format, right? We all love them, but you cannot zoom infinitely in them. You cannot put crazy large scale amount of data without it being really heavy, right? But SVG kind of bypass all of that because you're rendering the thing live in front of you. And because you're doing that, you can put a lot more detail when you start zooming in a lot without actually having to store more data, because it's just rendering as you go. So it allows me to do this very fancy thing that I love about my new SVGs, is that you can embed SVG inside of another SVG. So what I can do is, if you were part of the small minority of people that like to browse the website, you saw that the schematics were using, the schematics for ext4 were using one page that leads to another, and before we had an icon for each other section of ext4. Well, now you actually have the schematics themselves, and you can zoom into them as much as you want. Now, you can click on them and also go directly to them if you want more, if you want it to be easier to browse, but it's really fun to be able to infinitely zoom inside of an image because you're using this fancy file format. So that's for SVG. I really love it. I generate it using the worst way possible. I pretty much just drag a variable along a bash script and I run it through multiple iterations of awk and other commands, and then I throw it in a file. It's really disgusting. I hate it. I don't know why I'm doing this that way. There's 15 better way to do it, and I've embraced pragmatism, okay? I said to myself, you know what, I could learn to do it the right way and generate things correctly, or I can just do it as fast as I can and actually get something to work. And that's where I actually, that's what I did, right? I didn't go ahead and learn things correctly. So now I have this ugly script that is very, very slow, generating thousands of lines for this precious SVG file that I end up producing. So anyway, I really love SVGs. I just needed to rant a little bit about them, right? Who doesn't love a file format that you can do that much with? So there is still some JavaScript that needs to be used in order to make things work, and I'm not done in actually making everything work correctly. There's still some work that needs to be done, but anyway, enough for those SVGs. I really love them. So yes, like I said a little bit at the start, we're going more and more towards file system things. I want to do videos about XFS. I want to go through the stories of XFS, one story, one continuous story. I want to speak about the story of XFS. It's really a cool file system, but it's also an insanely complex one, and there's a lot of iteration, there's a lot of version of XFS, so it's going to take time. It's going to be an insane video. It's going to be insane videos, multiple of them, and it's also going to be some insane schematics. So stay for that, because that's going to be some great content. But yeah, that's where I am in the channel. I hope you're hyped. If you are, you can write XFS with a bunch of exclamation point, because that's where I'm going. And yeah, not much more that I can say. I hope that you mostly enjoy my video. That one was not really that fun. I hope that you enjoy knowing my newfound love for SVGs. If you've seen this part of the video, of course, XFS exclamation point, and we're going to see each other probably, well, of course, next week, but probably in the near future with an XFS video. So yeah, that's enough for today. Take care.